Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the most pivotal battles in history, examining the strategic context, operational art, and human element that shape the outcome of conflict. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore one of the most iconic naval battles in ancient history, the Battle of Salamis. As we set the stage for this epic clash, imagine yourself standing on the sun-kissed shores of the Saronic Gulf, surrounded by the majestic mountains of Attica, with the narrow Strait of Salamis stretching out before you like a shimmering ribbon. It's September 28, 480 BCE, and the fate of Greece hangs in the balance. The air is thick with tension as the Persian Empire, under the leadership of King Xerxes I, has been making its way through the Greek city-states, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. To understand the origins of this pivotal battle, we must journey back to the early 5th century BCE, when the Persian Empire was expanding its territories under the rule of Darius I. The Persians had already conquered a significant portion of the ancient world, including modern-day Turkey, Egypt, and parts of the Middle East. However, their sights were set on the Greek city-states, which they saw as a threat to their dominance. In 492 BCE, the Persians launched a campaign against the Greeks, led by Mardonius, a trusted general of Darius I. The Persians sailed across the Aegean Sea and landed at the city of Eretria on the island of Euboea. The Eretrians, despite being vastly outnumbered, put up a valiant fight but were ultimately defeated. The Persians then marched towards Athens, but their advance was halted when they encountered the Athenians at the Battle of Marathon in 490 BCE. The Battle of Marathon was a decisive victory for the Greeks, with the Athenians, led by Miltiades, employing innovative tactics to defeat the Persian army. However, this victory only served to delay the inevitable, as the Persians regrouped and launched another campaign against the Greeks under the leadership of King Xerxes I Bigness. Xerxes, determined to conquer Greece, assembled a massive army and navy, with estimates suggesting that his forces numbered over 100,000 soldiers and 1,200 ships. The Greek city-states, realizing that they could not defeat the Persians in a land battle, turned to their naval capabilities as their best hope for victory. The Athenians, led by Themistocles, played a crucial role in organizing the Greek resistance. Themistocles, who would play a pivotal role in the Battle of Salamis, was instrumental in convincing the Athenians to focus on their naval capabilities, recognizing that the key to defeating the Persians lay in controlling the seas. The Athenians invested heavily in building and maintaining a powerful fleet, with trireme warships that were faster and more maneuverable than their Persian counterparts. As the Persian army marched towards Greece, the city-states were thrown into chaos. The Spartans, under the leadership of King Leonidas, prepared to make a stand against the invaders at the narrow pass of Thermopylae. However, the Greeks knew that they faced a daunting task, and their chances of success depended on their ability to delay the Persian advance and buy time to prepare for the inevitable showdown. In the months leading up to the Battle of Salamis, the Greeks engaged in a series of skirmishes and battles against the Persians, seeking to delay their advance and weaken their forces. The Athenians, in particular, were busy fortifying their city, building walls, and preparing their fleet for battle. Themistocles, aware of the strategic importance of the Strait of Salamis, had been secretly preparing the Greek fleet for a decisive battle against the Persians. With the Persian army closing in and the Greek fleet gathering in the Strait of Salamis, the scene is set for a dramatic confrontation that will determine the fate of Western civilization. The Greeks are about to face their greatest challenge yet, as they prepare to take on the mighty Persian Empire in a battle that will be remembered for centuries to come. As we explore this legendary engagement, it's essential to understand the strategic landscape that led to this moment. The Persians, under King Xerxes I, had been making their way through the Greek city-states, leaving destruction in their wake. The Greeks, aware of their numerical inferiority on land, turned to their naval capabilities as their best hope for victory. Themistocles, the Athenian leader, played a crucial role in organizing the Greek resistance. He recognized that the key to defeating the Persians lay in controlling the seas and convinced the Athenians to invest heavily in building and maintaining a powerful fleet. The trireme warships, faster and more maneuverable than their Persian counterparts, would prove instrumental in the battle to come. As the Persian army marched towards Greece, The city-states were thrown into chaos. The Spartans, under King Leonidas, prepared to make a stand against the invaders at Thermopylae, while the Athenians fortified their city and prepared their fleet for battle. Themistocles, aware of the strategic importance of the Strait of Salamis, had been secretly preparing the Greek fleet for a decisive battle against the Persians. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation. The Persian fleet, comprising over 1,200 ships, entered the Strait of Salamis, seeking to crush the Greek navy and pave the way for Xerxes' army to conquer Athens. However, Themistocles had a clever plan in store for the Persians. He deliberately lured them into the narrow strait, where their numerical superiority would be negated by the confined space. As the Persian ships entered the strait, they found themselves trapped and unable to maneuver. The Greek triremes, with their faster and more agile vessels, were able to outflank and attack the Persians from the sides and rear. The battle was fierce, with ships crashing into each other and sailors clashing in a maelstrom of blood and steel. The Greeks fought bravely, employing innovative tactics such as the Diak Plus maneuver, where they would row between the enemy ships and attack them from beneath. The Persians, on the other hand, were hindered by their own numbers, with their ships becoming entangled and unable to escape the strait. As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn in favor of the Greeks. The Persians, realizing their mistake, attempted to retreat, but it was too late. The Greek fleet had gained the upper hand, and the Persians were forced to abandon their ships and flee. The Battle of Salamis was a resounding victory for the Greeks, with estimates suggesting that they sank or captured over 200 Persian ships. The Persian army, realizing that their naval support had been defeated, began to withdraw from Greece, marking a significant turning point in the war. Themistocles' cunning tactics and strategic vision had saved Athens and Greece from certain destruction. His leadership and bravery would be remembered for centuries to come, cementing his place as one of the greatest heroes of ancient Greece. The Battle of Salamis may have been won, but the war was far from over. The Persians would regroup and launch another campaign against the Greeks, leading to further battles and heroic actions that would shape the course of history. In the years following the Battle of Salamis, the Greeks continued to prepare for the inevitable Persian counterattack. The Athenians, led by Themistocles, worked tirelessly to strengthen their fleet and defenses, while the Spartans, under King Leotychides, focused on building a strong land army. The Greeks also formed alliances with other city-states, including Corinth, Megara, and Plataea, to present a united front against the Persians. One of the key battles fought during this period was the Battle of Mycale, which took place in 479 BCE. The Persian fleet, still reeling from their defeat at Salamis, had sailed to the coast of Asia Minor, where they were met by a combined Greek force led by the Spartan king, Leotychides. The Greeks launched a surprise attack on the Persians, catching them off guard and defeating them decisively. The Battle of Mycale was significant not only because of its military outcome, but also because it marked a turning point in the war. The Persians, realizing that they could no longer rely on their naval superiority, began to focus more on land warfare. This shift in strategy would ultimately lead to the Battle of Plataea, one of the most famous battles of the Persian Wars. The Battle of Plataea took place in August 479 BCE and was fought between a combined Greek force led by the Spartan regent, Pausanias, and a massive Persian army led by King Xerxes' brother-in-law, Mardonius. The Persians had invaded Greece with a huge army, estimated to be over 100,000 soldiers, but the Greeks were determined to stop them. The battle was fierce and intense, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. However, the Greeks had a significant advantage in terms of terrain, as they had chosen to fight on a narrow plain surrounded by hills and mountains. This funneled the Persian army into a small area, making it difficult for them to maneuver and exploit their numerical superiority. The turning point of the battle came when the Spartans, led by Pausanias, launched a bold attack on the Persian center. The Persians, who had been expecting a defensive battle, were caught off guard and quickly became disorganized. The Greeks took advantage of this confusion and began to push the Persians back. As the day wore on, the Persians became increasingly desperate and their army began to break apart. Mardonius, the Persian commander, was killed in the fighting, and his death marked the beginning of the end for the Persian army. The Greeks, sensing victory, pressed their advantage and eventually routed the Persians, killing thousands of them. The Battle of Plataea was a crushing defeat for the Persians and marked the end of their invasion of Greece. The Greeks had saved their city-states from conquest, and their victory would have far-reaching consequences for Western civilization. The battle also cemented the reputation of the Spartans as one of the greatest military powers of the ancient world. Their legacy would continue to shape the course of human history, inspiring future generations to stand up for what they believed in and fight for their freedom. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.